"Burn it," my sister whispered, her hands trembling as she held the photograph over the flames. "Burn it before she sees." But it was too late. I watched my mother's face crumble as she stared at the image, a photograph that had been hidden for 23 years. A photograph that would destroy everything she thought she knew about her marriage, her life, her identity. The woman in the photograph was my mother, but the man holding her, smiling at the camera with pure joy in his eyes, was not my father. Want to know the secret that shattered a family? Keep reading, but I warn you, this story will break your heart before it heals it. My name is Adana, and I never meant to find the box. It was a Tuesday afternoon in Lagos, the kind of hot, sticky day where even breathing feels like work. My mother had sent me to the storage room to find her old sewing machine. She wanted to teach my daughter, her granddaughter, how to sew. "Top shelf, brown box on the left," she had said, not looking up from her Bible study. I climbed the rickety ladder. Dust particles danced in the shaft of light coming through the small window. The storage room smelled like old clothes and memories, mothballs and cedar and time. I found the brown box, but next to it was another box, smaller, wrapped in a faded Ankara cloth and tied with string that had gone brittle with age. I should have left it alone. I should have climbed down with just the sewing machine. But curiosity is a powerful thing, and secrets, I've learned, have a way of demanding to be discovered. I pulled the small box down. The cloth fell away easily, like it had been waiting for this moment. Inside was a collection of letters, a pressed flower, a silver bracelet I'd never seen my mother wear, and beneath it all, the photograph. The image was faded, the colors washed out by time. But there was no mistaking my mother. She looked young, maybe 25, wearing a yellow dress I'd seen in other photos from that era. Her smile was radiant, unguarded, free. And the man next to her was not the stern, distant man I called father. This man was different. He had gentle eyes, a warm smile, and his arm was wrapped around my mother's waist with easy familiarity. On the back of the photograph, in my mother's handwriting, "Chidi and Ngozi, forever, June 1999. My hands shook. My mother's name was Ngozi, but who was Chidi? My parents married in August 1999. I was born in May 2000. The timeline made my stomach turn. I heard footsteps on the stairs. My sister Amara appeared in the doorway, curious about what was taking me so long. "Adana, did you find?" She stopped when she saw my face. "What's wrong?" I held up the photograph without speaking. Amara took it, her eyes widening. For a long moment, neither of us said anything. Then Amara did what she always did in moments of crisis. She took charge. "We burn it," she said firmly. "We put it back, we pretend we never saw it, and we burn it the first chance we get." "Amara, we can't just..." "Yes, we can. Mama doesn't need this pain. Papa doesn't need to know we found it. Some secrets should stay buried." But I heard more footsteps, heavier. My mother was coming up the stairs. "Girls, did you find the machine?" Amara's eyes met mine. She moved toward the small oil lamp we kept in the storage room for when the power went out. She struck a match, held the photograph over the flame. "Burn it," she whispered urgently. "Burn it before she sees." But my mother was already in the doorway. Her eyes found the photograph, found the man who was not my father, found the evidence of a life before the one we knew. The color drained from her face. Her hand went to her chest. For a terrible moment, I thought she might collapse. "Mama," I started. "Where did you find that?" Her voice was barely a whisper. "The box, next to the sewing machine. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to." She walked forward slowly, like she was in a dream. She took the photograph from Amara's trembling hands. She stared at it, and I watched 23 years of carefully constructed walls crumble in her eyes. "I tried to forget," she whispered. "God knows I tried." And then she did something I had never seen my mother do in my entire 33 years of life. She sat down on the dusty floor and cried. We sat with her, Amara and I, on that dusty storage room floor, while our mother held a photograph and wept for a man we'd never known existed. When the tears finally slowed, she began to speak. "His name was Chidi," she said, her voice hoarse. "Chidi Akaffer. We met in university. He was studying architecture. I was studying literature. He used to say I saw beauty in words the way he saw beauty in buildings." She smiled through her tears, lost in memory. "We were together for 5 years. Everyone knew we would marry. His family loved me. My family adored him. We had plans, a small house in Enugu, children, a life full of laughter and love." "What happened?" Amara asked gently. My mother's smile faded. "Life happened, dreams died, and I made a choice I've regretted every day since." She told us then, the whole story, and with every word I understood my mother less and loved her more. Chidi came from a good family, but they were not wealthy. He was brilliant, talented, destined for success, but success takes time. Success doesn't pay bride price or build houses or feed families in the present moment. My mother's parents were struggling. Her father had fallen ill. Medical bills piled up. Her younger siblings needed school fees. The family was drowning in debt. And then my father appeared. Chief Emeka Akali, 20 years older than my mother, wealthy, connected, a man who could solve all her family's problems with a checkbook. "My parents didn't force me," my mother said, her voice hollow. "They never demanded it, but I saw my father's pain. I saw my mother counting coins for food. I saw my little brother crying because he couldn't go to school. And Chief Emeka wanted me. He made an offer, a generous bride price, money for my father's surgery, school fees for my siblings, a house for my parents, all of it, in exchange for me." "Did you love him?" I asked, already knowing the answer. She laughed bitterly. "I barely knew him, but I told myself love would come. I told myself I was being practical, responsible, selfless." "What about Chidi?" Pain flickered across her face. "I broke his heart. I went at him one evening and told him I was marrying Chief Emeka. He begged me not to. He said we could wait, that he would work harder, that his career was taking off, and in a few years we would be fine. But a few years felt like forever when my father was dying. So I chose security over love. I chose my family's survival over my own happiness. We married 1 month later. Chief Emeka and I a big ceremony. Expensive. Everyone said I was lucky. A village girl marrying a wealthy chief. They said I had one. She looked at the photograph again. But I lost everything that mattered. "Did you ever see Chidi again?" Amara asked. My mother nodded slowly. "Once, about a year after my marriage. I ran into him at the market. He was with a woman, beautiful, educated. They were holding hands, laughing. He saw me, our eyes met, and in that moment I saw my entire future, the one I had thrown away, the joy I would never have, the love I had traded for gold." "Did he say anything?" He smiled, a sad, knowing smile. Then he said, "I hope you're happy, Ngozi, I really do." And he walked away. The room fell silent, except for the sound of my mother's quiet weeping. Finally, I had to ask the question burning in my mind. "Mama, when you married Papa, I was born 9 months later, was I?" She looked at me sharply. "You are your father's daughter, Adana. Never doubt that. I may have married Chief Emeka without love, but I honored my vows." Relief flooded through me, followed immediately by a different kind of pain. "But you never loved him. You never loved Papa." My mother's silence was answer enough. "Does he know," Amara asked, "about Chidi?" "Your father is a proud man. He knew I didn't love him when we married. But he believed love would grow. He gave me everything money could buy. A big house, expensive clothes, education for my children, respect in society. Everything except happiness," I said quietly. She nodded. "Everything except happiness, but I learned to live with it. I found purpose in raising you girls, in church, in keeping a good home. I buried Chidi in my heart and tried to forget." "Until today," Amara said. "Until today," my mother echoed. Footsteps sounded on the stairs again. Heavy, familiar, my father was coming. My mother's face changed instantly. The vulnerable woman disappeared. In her place was the proper wife, the chief's wife, the woman who had perfected the art of hiding her heart. She stood quickly, brushing dust from her wrapper. She tucked the photograph into her blouse. "Girls," she said quietly, her voice steady again. "This conversation never happened. You never found that box. You never saw that photograph. Do you understand?" "Mama," I started. "Do you understand?" Her voice was steel. Amara and I nodded. My father appeared in the doorway. "What's taking so long? And why is everyone on the floor?" "Just looking for the sewing machine, Papa," Amara said smoothly. "Adana knocked over a box. We were cleaning up the mess." My father grunted. "Well, hurry up. Dinner is getting cold." He left. My mother looked at us. In her eyes, I saw a plea. Don't destroy what little piece I've built. Don't make my sacrifice meaningless by revealing it. We left the storage room with the sewing machine. The small box stayed hidden behind the brown one. The photograph stayed pressed against my mother's heart. But something had shifted. We knew now. We knew the truth. And truth, once known, changes everything. The weeks that followed were torture. I couldn't look at my father without thinking about Chidi. Couldn't watch my mother serve dinner without seeing the resignation in her eyes. Couldn't pretend that our family was what I'd always thought it was. Amara coped by avoiding the house. She threw herself into work, spent more time with her fiancé, anything to escape the uncomfortable truth we now carried. But I couldn't avoid it. I had children. I brought them to my parents' house for Sunday dinners. I watched my mother play with her grandchildren, watched her laugh and sing and pretend. And I wondered, how many years of pretending does it take before you forget who you really are? One afternoon, my mother and I were alone in the kitchen. The children were napping. My father was at his club. "Mama," I said quietly, "do you ever wonder what your life would have been like with Chidi?" Her hands stilled over the vegetables she was cutting. For a long moment, she didn't answer. "Every day," she finally whispered. "Every single day for 23 years. That's no way to live." She looked at me then, really looked at me. "What would you have me do, Adana? Leave your father? At my age? For what? A fantasy of what might have been." "For happiness, for yourself." She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "I stopped being myself a long time ago. I am Chief Emeka's wife, your mother, your children's grandmother. These roles, they've become all I am." "But what about Ngozi, the woman in that photograph, the woman who loved Chidi?" "She died," my mother said flatly. "She died on her wedding day. I buried her deep and moved forward. It's called survival." "It's called sacrifice," I countered. "But Mama, at what cost? You gave up your happiness for your family. You've spent decades in a loveless marriage. When does your sacrifice end? When do you get to live?" My mother's eyes filled with tears. "You don't understand. When I married your father, I made a vow. Before God, before family, I don't break vows. Even vows that are killing you." "I'm not dying, Adana. I'm just existing." The resignation in her voice broke my heart. "Have you ever tried to find him?" I asked. "Chidi, to see what happened to him." She shook her head. "It would only bring pain. He's moved on, built a life. Why should I disrupt that with my regrets?" "Maybe he hasn't moved on. Maybe." "Stop." My mother's voice was firm. "This conversation ends now. I made my choice. I live with it, and you need to let this go." But I couldn't let it go. That night, I did something I'm not proud of. I went back to my parents' house while they were at church. I went to the storage room. I found the box. I took the letters. In my car, under the dim overhead light, I read them. Love letters from Chidi to my mother. Each one more beautiful than the last. Each one revealing a love so pure, so deep, it made my heart ache. "My Ngozi, you are the morning I wake to and the dream I fall asleep with. When I build my first house, every room will be designed with you in mind. Our bedroom will face east to catch the sunrise you love. The kitchen will have the large windows you always talk about. And the living room, the heart of the home, will be filled with bookshelves for your beloved stories. I am building our future one dream at a time. Wait for me. I love you. Forever yours, Chidi." Forever, the word mocked me from the page. In another letter, dated just weeks before my parents' wedding. Ngozi, I heard the news. I don't believe it. Tell me it's not true. Tell me you're not marrying Chief Emeka. Tell me our 5 years meant something. I know your family is struggling. I know you feel pressure. But I'm begging you, give me time. My firm just offered me a partnership. In 1 year, maybe 2, I can provide for you. I can take care of your family. Please don't do this. I cannot imagine a world where you belong to someone else. You are my heart. Don't rip it out. Please, Chidi. She had ripped it out anyway. And in the final letter, dated 2 weeks after my parents' wedding. Ngozi, I'm not angry anymore. I understand why you did it. You're the most selfless person I've ever known. You sacrificed your happiness for your family. It's one of the reasons I loved you. Still love you, will always love you. I'm leaving Lagos. Starting fresh in Abuja. I can't stay here, can't walk streets where I might see you with him. But I want you to know, in another life, in a world where love mattered more than money, where dreams were worth more than security, you and I would have been extraordinary. Thank you for the 5 best years of my life. Be happy, my love. Even if it's not with me, all my love for always, Chidi. I sat in my car and cried for the love story that never was, for my mother's sacrifice, for Chidi's heartbreak, for all the years of what if my mother had endured in silence. And then I made a decision. I was going to find Chidi Okefer. It took me 3 weeks to find him. 3 weeks of internet searches, phone calls to architectural firms in Abuja, reaching out to old university alumni groups, following dead ends and wrong numbers. But I found him. Chidi Okefer, successful architect, award-winning designer, owner of one of the most prestigious firms in Nigeria. And divorced. My hands shook as I read his biography on his company website. There was a photo, older now, gray at the temples, lines around his eyes. But the gentle expression was the same. The kind eyes that looked at my mother with such love in that faded photograph. According to his bio, he had married in 2003, had 2 children, and divorced in 2018. He was free. I stared at his contact information. I could call. I could email. I could show up at his office. But what would I say? Hello, you don't know me, but you once loved my mother and I think you should see her again. It sounded insane. But I thought about my mother's resigned smile, about her careful performance of contentment, about the photograph she still kept pressed against her heart. I called before I could change my mind. Okefer Associates, how may I help you? A pleasant receptionist's voice. I'd like to speak with Mr. Chidi Okefer, please. May I ask what this is regarding? It's personal, about someone from his past, Ngozi Akali. Well, she was Ngozi Ebel then. There was a pause. Please hold. Classical music played. My heart hammered. Then a voice, deep, warm, cautious. This is Chidi Okefer. Mr. Okefer, my name is Adana. You don't know me, but I believe you knew my mother, Ngozi Ebel. The silence on the other end was deafening. Ngozi, he finally said, and I heard 23 years of longing in that single word. Is everything all right? She's fine, physically, but Mr. Okefer, I found something, letters, a photograph, and I've learned about what happened between you two. Another pause. Does she know you're calling me? No, she'd be furious if she knew. But Mr. Okefer, I need to ask you something and I need you to be honest with me. All right. Do you still love her? The question hung in the air between us. I don't know if it's fair to call it love after so many years, he said slowly. But I think about her. I've thought about her every day for 23 years. I built a life, married someone else, had children. But Ngozi, she was the one that got away, the great love of my life. So yes, in whatever way it's possible to love someone you haven't seen in decades, yes, I still love her. My eyes filled with tears. She never stopped loving you either. How do you know? Because she kept your letters. Because she keeps your photograph close to her heart. Because when she talks about you, even after all these years, I can see the woman she used to become alive again. Is she happy? His voice was tight with emotion. With Chief Emeka, is she happy? No, I said honestly. She's not. She's dutiful, resigned, comfortable, but not happy. Then why are you calling me? If she's still married, still committed to her vows, what can I possibly do? I don't know, I admitted. Maybe nothing, maybe I'm being foolish, but I can't watch my mother live the rest of her life in quiet desperation, and I thought, maybe if you saw each other, maybe if you talked, maybe. Maybe what? We'd run away together. We're not young anymore, Adana. We have responsibilities, reputations. She's still married. I know all of that. But don't you think she deserves to know that you still think about her? That your love for her didn't die? That she wasn't alone in her sacrifice? What do you want me to do? I want you to see her, talk to her. Let her know that the love you shared was real and worth remembering. Give her that gift. And if it makes things worse, if seeing me only deepens her pain, then at least she'll know. At least she'll have closure. At least she won't spend the rest of her life wondering, what if? Chidi was quiet for a long time. There's an architectural conference in Lagos next month. I'm scheduled to give a keynote speech. If Ngozi wanted to, if she chose to attend. I'll make sure she knows about it. Adana, he said gently, you're playing with fire. The human heart is not something to meddle with. I know, but sometimes fire is the only thing that can burn away the dead wood and let new growth begin. We ended the call with promises to stay in touch. I sat in my car, wondering if I had just made the biggest mistake of my life or taken the first step toward healing my mother's broken heart. Only time would tell. What happens when Ngozi and Chidi finally come face to face after 23 years? Will old love reignite, or will the years apart prove too great a divide? And what about Chief Emeka? Will he discover the truth about his wife's first love? But here's the real question. Should Ngozi stay in her comfortable but loveless marriage, or should she risk everything for a second chance at happiness? Drop a comment below. Team stability or team true love? Should Ngozi stay with Chief Emeka or take a chance with Chidi? Part 2 is coming soon, and everything you thought you knew about love, sacrifice, and second chances will be challenged. Subscribe now so you don't miss it.